In the beginning, God made a firmament, which is sometimes translated as expanse or sky. God made the firmament and divided the waters from under the firmament with the waters from above the firmament. Let's make sure we heard that. There was water above the sky. The birds fly through the open firmament of heaven. Today we have 6 layers of atmosphere, but before the flood there used to be a crystalline firmament, a 7th layer. 2,000 years ago, Josephus and his contemporary Philo both describe God as placing a crystalline firmament around the earth. In 1849, Austin Henry Laird discovered Ashurbanipal's library, which housed Enuma Elish. These 4,000-year-old tablets document the creation story, including the crystalline firmament. So what happened to the crystalline firmament? We're told that God caused the rain by opening the windows of heaven. Likely, the crystalline firmament crashed to the earth in the form of rain. So before the flood, this earth was like a greenhouse. Everything was 10 times bigger, and everything lived 10 times longer. The Bible confirms this point. It tells us there were giants in the earth in those days. While most things are no longer giant in this atmosphere, some things still remain giant. However, there haven't been giant people for 3,500 years. When Joshua and Caleb were scouting out the land, they ran into giants, whereas they appeared as grasshoppers in the sight of the giants. The Hebrew word for giant is Rephaim, which was different in other countries. In Ham they called them the Zuzim. The Ammonites called the giants Zamzummim. This is no different than today when the English word for giant is translated differently in German, Dutch, and Norwegian. King Og from Bashan was the last giant. His bed was 9 cubits or 14 feet long. Moses and Joshua killed all of the remnants of the giants 3,500 years ago. Goliath was 6 cubits or 9 feet tall and was killed by David 3,000 years ago. We have people 9 feet tall today. How could Goliath have been a giant by biblical terms? We're provided names of other sons of giants other than Goliath during the time of David 3,000 years ago, where they had 6 toes and 6 fingers on each hand, and other genetic anomalies. Today we still have people with the same genetics. Is there fossil evidence for giant humans? Well, most people in the flood would have went to the highest place, and the beasts of the field would have drowned and been covered over in the mud. Therefore, there's very few fossils of giants. However, there are some. Here's examples of a femur bone and a thumb bone that Ron Wyatt found, claiming to be Noah's wife's thumb. And then there's a footprint in South Africa that is unquestionably a human footprint. Ashurbanipal's library also housed the Epic of Gilgamesh on these tablets, where Gilgamesh goes to Napishtu the Faraway to learn how to live forever. Napishtu, otherwise known as Noah, built a boat to save his family in a flood. Gilgamesh is described as 18 feet or 11 cubits tall, and his friend Enkidu is 16 feet tall. While some artifacts have the giant king standing up, most artifacts have the giant king sitting down, so that he can look at his people eye to eye from his throne, whereas the size difference is not obvious. Here's a giant with his horses, and they worship giants. They made them gods. And the detail in these artifacts is amazing, where average-sized people are also drawn with horses. In summary, there's plenty of evidence that demonstrates that God's word is true, and that giants are just people that lived in a different atmosphere.